So talk to me, because we're living in weird times, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about, I don't think there's ever been, and there probably in any of our lifetimes, yourself, I mean, you're older than I am, obviously, but like, and so you've seen a lot more, you've been through different cycles. You were, I'm assuming in like 79, 80, the late 70s, you were probably producing, and how old were you
I
then?
was in high tech. I never thought I'd get in insurance and investment business. I was in high tech. I used to
Okay.
sell parts to missiles and fly
No
around the
way. That's
country.
awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I was high tech. I sold parts to missiles, Sidewinder missiles,
Oh,
and
wow. Nice.
yeah, I used to travel around the country, and it was a very entrepreneurial thing. I was a part owner of a high tech company. I was just really a driven kid.
That's awesome.
But no, I got into this business by default around 82, 83. Couldn't get a job. I got thrown out on my butt, proverbial butt. Couldn't
Mm.
do anything. And so yeah, and it was really tough starting doing what I'm doing. And for people today, it's even harder because back then you could do more.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was around for the crash of '87. I remember when you couldn't even get into someone on the phone that day.
Oh, yeah.
When the market lost 25% in one day.
Totally.
And I've been around the '99 2000 crash,
Hmm.
and then the 2000 2008 crash, and then I'm just getting ready for the next one, which is probably going to be bigger.
Yeah.
It's going to be the granddaddy, and I hope not, Chris. I really hope it doesn't happen. But when you look at the debt,
Hmm.
credit card debt, student loan debt, I don't think Biden's going to discharge on this debt. So if people are not making the wages, and they're not, and I understand it's an economic inequality thing.
Yeah.
I'm a capitalist, okay, but it's a rigged system, and so people can't afford these educations now. I give a great example. I was with a client the other day, and he went to University of Vermont. His daughter was out of state.
Oh, no way.
Your old home state. If
Yep.
you go to UVM, it's something like $60,000 to go to.
It's
If you're an out of
ridiculous.
state student to go to UVM, it's a beautiful school. It's kind of
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, but it's kind of almost like
is it,
communist. But it's
yeah, is any school worth 60K though right now? Like, let's
no.
be real. Like,
Then they have to take courses in critical race theory. In any event, but so
Yep.
I've seen a lot of this stuff what's happened. So people's wages have not increased.
Right.
And the thing is, so if you can't give people increased wages, what do? You give them debt.
Mm.
So a kid can go out and put 100 grand down in a loan, but he can't even rent a car at the airport.
Well, the government guarantees it, right? So anybody can lend the money to anybody if they know that it's guaranteed by the government. It's basically, it's a total moral hazard. You're creating a financial slavery system, the highway to serfdom, right? It's like you're creating this financial slavery system where everybody going through college right now is going to come out in debt, and they're going to be so just like weighed down by that debt that's holding them back from being able to actually save, being able to actually like create value in this world, and like make good value-based decisions. Everything, like anybody who's ever been in any level of debt understands the level of stress that goes along with that, and how that debt impacts your decisions and how you can actually live your life intentionally. And that's my company, Barry, is Living Intentionally for Excellence, LIFE. And the 180 is all about how you could turn it around, right? Like how you could turn the results in your life around. And that's what I'm super passionate about helping people do, is live their life intentionally for excellence. And the reality is money is a huge part of it, right? Like, it impacts every relationship that we have. Maybe it shouldn't, we could have that conversation, but like it does for the most part.
It does.
Most marriages, money is the reason, that they blow up, right? Like sadly, but it's reality. Business partnerships, it's usually about money. Like I could go down the list, it's about money. And so internal stress, suicide, disease, like all that stuff, you could go back to stresses around money. And so like what people are doing in the financial system right now, how people are investing, and how people are taking on risk too early, too soon, and not having that safety, not having the financial structure or design in their life put together properly so they can, weather the storms, that are inevitable. Like that's the part to me that makes my head want to explode. honestly. It's like, we all know that this happens. We know that like we're coming out of this bull run right now from what, 12, 13 years ago. And it's the longest bull run we've ever had, which is, God bless, like it's amazing that we've been able to experience it. And all good things come to an end, like it just makes me laugh right now when I talk to people and they're like, oh, it's like, they list off like 3 or 4 reasons that like this time it's different. It's going to keep going. It's like all these different things. Inflation is transitory, like this, that, whatever. It's like, come on, are you really buying this crap? Like talk. So if you could like talk to me specifically about, I mean, we just kind of talked a little bit about where we are from an economy perspective. I mean, I think taxes are going up. I think inflation concerns are legitimate. Consumer debt, you just mentioned, is at an all-time high. Government debt is at an all-time high. The national deficit, annual deficit, is at an all-time high. Unfunded liabilities are at an all-time high. So I don't know about you, but like the common sense in me just says things are pretty rough, right? And so eventually we got to pay the piper. And so talk to me about why you think right now whole life insurance, annuities, fixed assets, having your money in safe places and getting the return of principal versus a rate of return on your investment is more important now than ever. I want to hear how you kind of would talk about that.
Well, I all kind of came about this in a circulatory fashion, in that I didn't understand the banking system until I understood the banking system in this country, Chris. I really didn't understand anything.
Mm-hmm.
But first, I would recommend people, studying up on the banking system better. Read The Creature from Jekyll Island, books like that. It's a great book. You read The Creature, okay?
Oh yeah.
That's and actually, and I've actually spoken at a couple conferences with him. He's a great guy.
That's awesome.
But until I understood how the banking system worked, I really didn't understand the pure benefits of life insurance and annuities. But when I figured out how unstable the banks are intuitively,
mm-hmm.
I kind of got a Scottish German mind, very.
That's why I like you. I'm part Scottish too, so
so I'm a Scottish German. How do things work mathematically? And all that. I used to be one of those kids that took things apart. How do they work? But
okay.
So when you understand the banks, how unstable they are by nature, how leveraged they are, and I like things. I like things are really well built. Okay, it's like I tell people I have 2 Porsches, and why do I have 2 Porsches? Because I like really well made things. Okay.
You sound like my wife, Barry.
Yeah, really? Okay. She does. Okay.
She likes nice cars too.
So, but the thing is that when you understand how fragile a bank is, their leverage, 9 to 1, 10 to 1, and then it's intuitively, it's like if you had 1 home, Chris, that's fine, you can manage that. But if you had 9 or 10 homes at once, and you had to manage them all at once, I said, well, Chris, you're drinking too much Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
But now, if you're a bank, now you're not have 1 home or 9, 10 homes, you have 100 of them, and as your risk. So when I understood that the banks were really kind of a facade of strength, that's when I really became. Then when I understood the structure of a life insurance company, how they can't leverage their balance sheets. They have to reserve everything that they have. You deposit $1 in insurance contract or annuity, they have to account for every dollar. Where the banks don't do anything. And when you understand the real, the benefits, the inherent guarantees, that they're overseen by state, insurance commissioners in various states, okay, which are actually, believe it or not, are actually have a heck of a lot more vigilant than the federal regulators. The federal regulators are a joke.
Oh, totally.
So when you understand that, I said, gee whiz, why doesn't anyone understand this? And so then when I said it was kind of a gone shot. And then when I stumbled into this, she was back in 2003, 2004. People read my book. You know what I've been through. I had to rebuild myself. I have, 3 wonderful children, but I had to reinvent. And so when I figured this out back then, I said, but I had nothing to go on. But then when I found out the bank started to buy something, and then I started asking around, and no one would talk to me. I said, gee whiz, I must be onto something. And that's when, and then it's like, thank you God. It was when around 2005, 2006, I discovered that all the banks bought all this life insurance and celebrities and all these high-end executives, but no one was talking about it. So that's right. And it worked. So, And I've been doing financial planning for 30, 40 years now. So I
Yep.
realize a lot of stuff just will never work.
Yeah.
So I mentioned like we have these hot products now like SPACs, special purpose acquisition company, which are the old blind pools of the 1920s. And they're very, very popular. But one of the only things that really last during all these times is life insurance and annuities. I know it's boring, it's not sexy, but it works.
Amen to that, brother. Well, and to that point, I was actually yesterday, I just did a Google search and was researching how many banks have failed since 2000. And the number it gave me, at least and I didn't spend a ton
I
of
know
time.
what it is.
Is it 579? Is that the number?
Yeah, I think you have 558, right? So
Okay.
560, 580, whatever.
Okay. Yeah. I saw the number that I saw was, I think, 579, if I have that number right. But like, so in that range, like, so I want, how many mutually held life insurance companies have actually failed? Like a bank has failed, like 579 banks have failed since 2000. How many have failed since like 1860? Zero.
There have been some crazy wild actors. Okay, the Executive Life was that was a stock. They ran like a mutual fund. A guy named Fred Marr, he used to run a mutual fund company. So
Okay.
they ran a life company. They blew that one up.
Okay.
But even though that was the largest failure, and there has been demutualizations and things like that.
Well, Ohio National's doing it right now.
Ohio National imploded, and that's it's a sad story. But but no one's even in receivership, Ohio National was taken over. They didn't go out of business, but
Right.
But the banks, there's roughly 558, 570 banks have filed this in the past 20 years, since they've gone out of business. And so unfortunately, so what we're seeing too is that which I'm going to address, and people, if they want to get on my website, they can sign up barrymajamesdyke.com. Because I will be redoing the book in the fall. But what you have is what is called Gresham's Law. Do you know what Gresham's Law is?
I feel like I've heard it, but I couldn't recite it to you.
Well, Thomas Gresham was a British mathematician, okay? And he is the guy who came up with the expression, bad money pushes out good.
Okay.
Which essentially means is that I'm a little bit older than you, but when I was a kid, Chris, all the coins were made out of 100% silver.
Totally.
Okay. So what has happened now, I think now, I don't know if I have any coins on me now, but I think there may be, if they're even 1% silver, whatever.
No, they're not even. I think there's no silver in the coins these days.
So there's no silver content. So Gresham's Law is essentially saying the good old silver stuff, okay, has been pushed out by bad stuff, which essentially devalued or the value, and that's just, so essentially, if you look at empires like the Roman Empire, and they started shaving the coins and essentially mutilating the value of the currency, that's essentially Gresham's Law. So what we've seen today is that yes, there's still some really good mutual companies left, but the real good ones, a lot of them, they're out of business because have been merged or whatever. But there are a couple dozen ones which are really great places to put your money.
So amen.